Hey guys, it's Stephanie, and today I'm gonna be doing the Draw My Life video, and this video was really requested by you guys, and I really wanted to do it to show you guys more about the story of my life. Oh, get it? Because One Direction? Okay, no. Okay, so I was born on April 11th, 1998 at Northside Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. Woohoo! So yeah, I was born to my parents, Benjamin and Teresa, and my mom actually decided what to name me on that same day that I was born, and so she wanted to name me Stephany, but instead of spelling it with IE at the end, she decided to write it with a Y, and I love my name with a Y, so I'm happy she chose to do that. And then my middle name is Jasmine, and I get the spelling for my dad's name because it ends in the same way. So I grew up living in a little, little village of mobile homes or trailers, and I made a lot of friends there, so it was really fun. And I remember the first time I saw snow was actually there when I was little. So Spanish was my first language, but I started to learn English when I was in pre-K, and pre-K was really fun. I remember I did ballet and tap dancing, and I loved to draw, and we also made like a lot of fun little treats when I was in pre-K, so I really loved that. But yeah, I remember pre-K being really fun. So when I was like 4 or 5, I had super crazy curly hair like I do now, but even crazier. And I loved Disney ever since I was little. I had the chance to go because my parents took me, and I just fell in love. All my school book bags and birthday parties were always like Disney theme and Disney princess theme. Something that I would always do when I was little was I would like take towels and wrap them around me and pretend they were dresses, and I'd just like dance around. I would pretend that I was like Shakira or whoever I was dancing to, whatever music it was. So then on May 26, 2002, my life changed and it became more adventurous, I would say. Benji was born and I was so happy. I remember I was so happy to have a little brother. So most of my mom's side of the family was in Mexico. So growing up, I only really had one cousin that was from my mom's side of the family, and her name is Jessica, Jessie as I call her. And I remember she was really into singing and acting, and she was my role model. She was the one I really shared common interests with, and we would always talk about stuff, and she would have sleepovers at my house, and we would stay up all night talking about random things in life, and we just became really close. So I remember when the Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus 3D movie came out, and I was obsessed with Disney, but we did not have Disney Channel, so I was really sad that I wouldn't be able to see it. But I had this cousin, I have this cousin, and her name is Jocelyn. Some of you guys might be familiar with her name, Jocelyn, and she had Disney Channel, so I would go over her house all the time to watch Disney movies and like everything. So those were really special moments that we shared growing up. So something that happened when I was little is that I really wanted to cut my hair short, and I wanted to cut it like shoulder length, but my mom would say that it wouldn't look right because of the kind of hair that I had, but I still wanted to cut my hair short, so I did, and I think I even got bangs. But when I was little, I loved to draw so much that I even told my parents if I could go to an art camp. So I remember going, and it was just the best thing ever, and I actually felt like I fit in with all the kids, so that was awesome. So after living in the donkey trailers, that's what they were called, that's what the little area I lived at was called, we finally moved into a house, and I was super excited, and that meant that I had to go to a completely new school since I was moving. So I started second grade at a new elementary school, and I remember the first day that I walked in there, I wore my RBD uniform that my grandma had given me when I went to Mexico. RBD was like a really popular Hispanic music group, and so I wore like their merchandise, I guess. If you guys know what I'm talking about, leave me a comment down below. But I was the new girl at school, and so I remember I made a friend, and her name was Alicia, and we both loved drawing. I remember we would say that we wanted to have an art museum one day, but Alicia actually had a twin sister, so that was pretty cool. When I was in second grade, I had my first crush on a boy named Billy, and I remember he would always wear these shirts that had like fire flames on them, so I would like draw him pictures, and I gave them to Alicia because she rode the bus with him, and so she would give them to him. But one day he ripped apart the drawing, and it made me really sad, and I thought that no boys would ever like me. So the summer after second grade, my mom, my brother, and I went to Mexico, and then when we came back, my dad had a surprise for us, and that was my dog Peluchin, and we were so excited. He was so cute and so small, and we were just really happy we finally had a dog. So then it was time for third grade, and in third grade I began my obsession for High School Musical, and I would wear like High School Musical merchandise, and kids in my school would actually tell me that that was lame, but I didn't care, and I would still wear my High School Musical stuff. And actually, when I was in third grade, there was this boy, and he told me that I had hairy arms, and I wasn't supposed to have hairy arms because I was a girl. So that made me really uncomfortable in my own skin, and I started wearing sweaters and jackets even when it was super hot outside, and I would just like hide myself and hide my arms, and I'd be sweating outside with sweaters to cover up my arms, until one day my teacher noticed that it was like burning hot outside and I was wearing a jacket, and she said, "Stephany, why do you have that on? Aren't you hot?" And I explained to her what had happened, and she helped me, and she said that I didn't need to feel insecure about who I was and not to care about what someone said. So then fourth grade rolled around, and my grades were actually not that great, but the thing that kind of saved me and made me feel better from how I felt in fourth grade was that I would have Radio Disney dance parties in my room, and I would just go crazy and dance to every song that played on the radio. Something that I did love about fourth grade though was recess, and we would go outside, and there was this game called Chicken, and there was this girl, her name was Evelyn, and she was in fifth grade, and she was so fast, and I would just like compete against her, and we were like the best ones at the game. So then it was time for fifth grade, and that was the best year of my elementary school. I remember I walked in my classroom and I was wearing some shorts with an Abercrombie t-shirt because that was cool, and I saw this girl from across the room and she was Hispanic, and I was like, whoa, a Hispanic in my class. We could be best friends because there wasn't really many Hispanics at my school. So I thought we could be friends since we had something in common. But in fifth grade, I loved reading, and I actually got all A's, and that was the first time that it ever happened. And we actually had a student teacher in our classroom, and I just had lots of love for her because she was so nice. And I also entered this drawing competition when I was in fifth grade to draw a pizza for a restaurant that was opening, and I actually won a free pizza. But 5th grade graduation came and we made like little caps for our graduation, and I wrote down the quote, "Life is a climb," that I got from the movie Hannah Montana when it came out. But I also remember in 5th grade, my dad lost his job, and that was a really hard time for me and my family. We stopped doing a lot of the things that we used to do, like going out to eat on the weekends, and he didn't have enough money to pay for my 5th grade field trip. But my dad didn't give up, and he started his own welding company so he could provide for me and my family. So then it was time for middle school, and I remember being so scared of going to a new school. The only thing that I was excited about was that Julissa was going to be there, and I remember I could not find her at all on the first day of school, but when I finally found her, she was with a group of more Latina girls, and so I was like, whoa, more Hispanics, cool. But we ended up not really having any classes together, me and Julissa, so she kind of drifted away from me and said that I wasn't ever her best friend and started to hang out with the other girls, and I just kind of went my own way. But I was in chorus and orchestra, and I found a lot of love for those classes. During middle school, I didn't really feel like I had any friends in school, so I started being closer to my friends at church, and I started making more friends at church, and I knew that they'd always be there for me. In the summer before 7th grade, I went to Miami Beach and I met Joey King from Ramona and Beezus, and that's where my celebrity meeting obsession started. In 7th grade, I started breaking out the worst that I had ever broken out, and I remember some people would even make me feel bad about my face. So those were some really hard times for me, and I was really so insecure. But then the school play came along and I loved the theater, so I wanted to audition, but I wanted to get a small part since I was too shy. So I auditioned for a small part and I got it. The bus that I rode in middle school had some guys on it, and they would always say the meanest things to me, and they would just talk so much about my race and say really racist comments to me, saying for my parents to go back to Mexico, and just things that really made me feel really upset, and I didn't understand why they would talk about me like that when I hadn't done anything to them. I experienced a lot of racism when I was growing up, but I never stopped being proud of my beautiful culture. So then it was time for 8th grade, and I got braces, and I was so excited to get braces because I really wanted to have straight teeth. My teeth weren't that bad, but I still wanted to have really straight teeth. In 8th grade, my chorus I was in had a really cool chorus concert, and I think that was like the best thing about middle school. But other than that, I was so ready to leave and go to high school. In the summer before high school, I started watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I found these YouTubers who made beauty videos and fashion videos and just a whole bunch of super interesting videos, and I absolutely fell in love with YouTube. So then it was finally time for high school, and I was super excited. I remember I went out and got this concealer because I had been watching a lot of makeup and beauty videos, and I actually got the wrong shade concealer. It was like too light for my skin tone, but I still wore it. But it was 9th grade and a fresh start. I was a freshman, and I had cosmetology class, culinary arts class, and I had good grades, and I was in the Beta Community Service Club at my school. And then the time came when I turned 15, so I had the choice between a quinceañera party or going on a trip, and I chose to go to California because all the YouTubers that I watched mostly lived in California, and I just had dreams of going there. So I went to California, but I still had a 15 mass and I had a pink dress. So I didn't really miss out on a quinceañera experience much. But at California, I basically did a lot of things that I had seen people on YouTube go. Like I went to Earth Cafe and I went to Sprinkles Cupcakes, and that's where I found my love. And my favorite place was probably Santa Monica. One of my biggest dreams is to live in California one day. One of my classes when I was in 9th grade was cosmetology class, and I had that class with my friends Mariana and Mireia, and one day we were like, let's go to the homecoming game. So we all agreed to go, and we went along with Mireia's sister Elizabeth. And I just remember sitting in the stands, and it was the homecoming football game, and I never even tried to imagine thinking what it would be like walking down the field being on the homecoming court. In 10th grade, there was this group of girls that had some of my friends in it, and they would meet in the mornings before going to class, and they would just meet there when they got to school. And some of the girls were actually my friends, but some of the girls, it didn't really seem like if they were actually friends and if they actually liked each other as friends, and it was just kind of like bad vibes, so I didn't really feel comfortable. And one day something happened, and one of the girls sent me a message saying I had no friends and nobody liked me. And then when we would go to the group, she would just kind of pretend like if everything was fine and if she was nice to me, and I didn't really like that she just did that. So I decided to not pass by the group anymore and just take a longer route to the place that I had to go. And I remember not going to things if I knew she was gonna be there because I know how she'd act. But I decided to just stick with people that made me feel good about myself. So in 10th grade, I also took my favorite class that I ever took in high school, and it was so much fun. It was my native Spanish class, and everyone in the class was a native Spanish speaker. My friend Elizabeth was in my class, and we got really close. Also, there was a friend of my friend Maria's in the class, so I knew who they were because they were my friend Maria's friend, and it was a guy, and his name was David. And one day we just started talking about California, and he knew everything I was talking about, and I was surprised because not a lot of people that I talked to knew about California things like I did, and talking to him was just so natural, so I kind of started to develop a secret crush on him. And I told my friend Elizabeth, but then it turns out that he was moving to Texas on the last day of school, so I thought it's probably not meant to be. Ever since I started high school, I had always been thinking about how cool it would be if I could make my own YouTube channel. And I just remember watching all the YouTubers that I watched and just thinking, I think I could do that, and I feel like it would be really cool. But I didn't really know what my channel could be called, and so I made a list and I kind of just planned everything out, how I always write lists about everything, and I thought about Steph to Style. It was a name that I had came up with when I was playing this game called Fun Run. The Steph is from my name, the number 2 is my favorite number, and then I had originally wrote Styles, but I took off the S at the end so it could be like Style. So my family and I were going on vacation during the summer to the beach, and so I decided why not do a what's in my beach bag video. And it was funny because I don't really go to the beach, but I just thought it would be a cool video to do because I was actually going to the beach for once. So I did the video and I uploaded it onto my channel. I remember I learned to edit and everything on myself, and I was so proud of myself. And I remember my first friend that I told, and it was my friend Ernsa, and she was my first subscriber ever. She's always been one of my greatest supporters. So then junior year came and I kind of felt alone at school. And then I didn't really know what I was going to do once I graduated, so that kind of worried me a lot. So I always had a lot of crushes growing up, and I always imagined finding the right guy. But then I realized that the guys that I was having crushes on weren't really the type of guy that I was looking for. So I kept praying that one day God would bring the right guy into my life that had what was most important, which was a kind heart. So then it was sophomore year, second semester, and I had health class with Lisbeth. And I remember one day we were walking out of our last class, health, and we were walking to the buses. And we were just, having a normal stroll down to the buses. And then I see someone familiar from a distance. Then I loudly said, is that David? I could not believe my eyes. And then right after that, I remember I went to tell Maria that David was back, and she said, I know. And I told her that I had never told her, but I actually had a crush on him. And she said that she knew it all along, supposedly. So many events and amazing memories and things that happened really led up to me and David. But I'll just save that part of our story for another day. Because of David, the end of my junior year ended up being the best ever. But then David had to move away again. He moved away from Georgia to Texas, 947 miles away. But being in different states wasn't enough to keep us apart. I still felt as much love from him, even being that far away. He was gonna move away at the end of the summer, so we still got to spend a lot of time together during the summer, and we went to a 15 party. We would go to the mall and get sprinkles, and we went to the aquarium and art museum, and everything was just so fun with him. It didn't matter if it was simple things, but it was always the best. Before David left, we went and got matching Mickey Mouse book bags so that we could feel like we were together, even though we were going to be going to different schools, but we still had something that connected us in a way. And every time that I looked at my book bag at school, I just remembered that my best friend had it too. So since the first day that David moved to Texas, we began to start counting down to when I would see him again, because he was gonna come back for his cousin's quinceañera party, because he had family here. So we would count down all the days, and every day we would be excited that another day had gone by until we finally would get to see each other again. So remember when I said that I never thought I would be one of the people on the homecoming court walking down the football field? Well, little did I know that in my senior year, I would end up not only being on the homecoming court, but thanks to the amazing people in my life and the amazing friends that I had, I would win homecoming queen. Benji walked me down the field that day, and I remember when they announced my name, I started crying, and Benji just looked at me and he hugged me, and I remember all of my friends were screaming and my cousin Jocelyn was screaming, and it was one of the most amazing, surreal moments of my life. I would have never expected to have won that. When I was on homecoming court, there had been people who had said mean things about me, and even one person who tweeted about me saying why was I even on the homecoming court. But when I won, it was more than just winning a crown. Me and my friends did it together, and everyone who supported me. It proved that if you can dream it, you can do it. I was proud to represent represent my Hispanic culture and proud of who I was. So then it was Friday, the day before I would finally get to see David again. Or so I thought. I was sitting in my 4th period class, and I think we were like reviewing Macbeth or something. But I was just ready to leave to be on Thanksgiving break. And I remember my cousin walking in the door, and I was really confused on why she was in there. And then I see somebody else walk in the door, and it was David. And I couldn't believe my eyes after not having seen him for so long. And some of our friends actually knew that he was gonna do that, but they didn't tell me, and it was just one of the happiest things that ever happened to me. So it turns out that David was gonna move back for the end of my senior year, so not even 1,000 miles could keep us apart. So now in 2016, 2015 was awesome. I had been blessed with so many amazing people in my life, and 2,500 subscribers I would have never thought I would have. I grew in my confidence, and I grew so much in my faith. 2016 already has been so great, and I can only wait for everything else that is to come. So this is my life so far, and I wouldn't have changed anything or made it different because everything that's happened has made me who I am now. Thank you all for being a part of it, and thank you all for being my friends. Every one of you is so important to me, and I love you all so very much. Please know that you're amazing just the way that you are, and you are so loved and so important. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope you guys liked it, and I will see you guys in my next one. But for now, adios.